In India, rapists are more likely to attack women from the Dalit community than from any other caste group. A 10-year-old girl was raped 2 years ago by a man from an upper caste. DW's correspondent Shalu Yadav reports on the family's fight for justice from Kanpur in northern India, and a warning that you might find their account distressing.
It was a cold evening when a 10-year-old girl was on her way home after collecting firewood from the fields in her village. On a path like this one, a 26-year-old man grabbed her. He raped her so violently, she ended up in a hospital. 2 years on, her memory of battling death is a blur, but flashbacks of the attack still haunt her. Too afraid to go out alone, she rarely leaves home apart from to go to school.
It really bothers me to think about the shame this incident has brought upon our family. I have nightmares. I wonder why this happened to me.
She may be too young to understand the reason, but her mother seethes in anger as she spells it out.
The accused targeted my daughter because we are Dalits. He dared to do it because he's from the upper caste. We must stay in our place, as our status in the society is the lowest. He could have killed our daughter had we not heard of what was happening in time.
The family had to leave their village. Pressure from the upper caste community, who defended the rapist and blamed the girl, became unbearable.
Being a woman in India is hard. Being a Dalit woman is worse. The community is at the bottom of the rigid caste system that called them the untouchables. Upper caste men often use rape as a weapon of oppression against Dalit women. Protests are often held in the wake of rape cases, but there's hardly any outrage when the victim is a Dalit.
Sana Bano is studying to be a lawyer and volunteers to help Dalit victims with legal advice. She says her work is dangerous.
People from the upper caste call me and intimidate me. They remind me that I am a single woman and I should think about my safety. In some cases, they even follow us to intimidate us.
Manjula is a human rights activist in Ahmedabad. She says the 10 rapes of Dalit women and girls that are reported each day is far from the full picture, and most don't have anyone to help.
I think what is reported is just 25%. The 75% is still not reported. Underreporting is a major issue, and non-reporting itself. So only 25% cases are being reported because the Dalit women are not aware about their rights. And how will they go to the police station? Who is there to help them? Who tells them that when you are raped, you don't have to wash your private part and you don't have to throw away your clothes because those are your evidence?
Manjula knows what she's talking about. She's a Dalit and a rape survivor. She says caste and gender work together against Dalit women.
They live with that fear that if I assert my rights, I would be killed or I would be raped or I have to leave my village. And this is happening. It's happening across the country.
She's only 12. But this rape survivor has already learned what it means to be a Dalit woman.
I don't think it's possible to get justice, but we will try. Those who try never fail.
I'm joined now by Vrinda Grover, a Supreme Court lawyer in India and a women's rights activist. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. It is really devastating to hear that after everything that has happened to this girl, she does not think she'll get justice. What conditions exist that make that so difficult?
So when it comes to sexual violence or other forms of violence against Dalit women, the impunity is absolute and it is endemic. As has been very accurately reported in your report just now. What did we hear? This young minor girl has been raped. She is in trauma. The family has been compelled to leave the village. So we are already talking of a family that is economically subordinate, that is socially marginalized, which are all functions of caste. And then the state does not step in. There are laws in place. There is a special law against atrocities against scheduled castes. Who will implement the law? Where is the police? Where are all those who are supposed to provide that scaffolding of protection, both to the victim, to the witness, to enable them to navigate the legal machinery? What we see is that casteism is actually seeped through and through all institutional mechanisms. So the legal scaffolding by itself is not going to provide the answers. And that is the function that we are seeing today. And that is why there is an impunity for any man walking to pick up a Dalit girl, a Dalit woman, and to sexually assault her with impunity, knowing that she will not be able to access the legal system until and unless there are activists, there are lawyers who will step in, because the state is not performing that role.
So just so I understand correctly, are the existing legal protections enough, and this is just an issue of willpower of the state not stepping in, or does the law need to go further in providing protections against caste-based sexual violence?
I think the statutory regime that we have in India is actually fairly sound today. We have a special law called the Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act, which was amended in 2015 to bring in special atrocities against women, including sexual harassment, sexual assault. The law provides for mechanisms that there will be a senior police officer who will investigate these cases. There will be a special public prosecutor. The victims and witnesses will be provided protection, including taking them to the court. But what is to be done with the institutional bias that exists from the police station to the courtroom? When threats are given, when they are intimidated, if those in positions of authority do not intervene and do not step in, none of these laws can do anything. So in my view, the legal regime is in place, but because of the existence of caste patriarchy, because of casteism, and also because of the continuing economic and social marginalization of Dalits, they are unable to access the legal system.
So how do you go about addressing this bias? Are there any positive examples where we've seen progress?
I would not be able to actually come up with an example at all. What I can say is that we see that this bias is very deeply embedded in across Indian society. So when there is training done of the police, when there is orientation and selection done of judicial officers, when there is training done of public prosecutors, it's not just about the law. There will have to be an orientation and an acknowledgement that casteism is part of the way in which life is being led in India. Today, there is a greater denial that no, caste is something that used to take place in earlier times. That is not true. This violence is a manifestation of that casteism. And therefore, it's important to acknowledge in order to deal with it. Secondly, again, the law is in place that if any police officer acts with impunity, does not provide protection, etc., they are to be held accountable. Nobody is being held accountable. Without accountability, how does impunity end? How does deterrence get created?
So how do you help Dalit women get access to the legal services that they need in order to hold offenders to account?
I think presently the way our system is working, I think there needs to be a regular monitoring and evaluation where you heard, say, someone like Manjula Pradeep, who engages with this extensively. There needs to be an annual report. The court needs to ask for an annual report that what has happened in this district, what has happened in this state, what cases came to the police station, where were the gaps, where was the attrition, Why did the woman not complete the legal process? Who were the officers in charge at that time? All these are details that will have to be gone into. There will be monitoring and evaluation and audit of the law. The law needs to be audited to see, does it deliver justice or is it just written in the statute book?
Thank you so much for joining us today to share your insights. That is lawyer and activist Vrinda Grover.
Thank you.